Apartments may just be the housing that saves us. I visited my hometown and I was chatting with a woman who had been a young mother when I was a teenager and was now a seasoned mom. I was bemoaning living in an apartment and how much I wished I had a backyard where my kids could go play anytime. She told me thoughtfully, sometimes I wish that too, but in the end, it's so good for me to be outside. If they could go by themselves, I would probably stay inside all the time and totally miss out on what fresh air and sunshine can do for me. This comment made me stop in my tracks. Up until then, I had been trying to mitigate the damage that apartment living would do to my family. I had never considered that there could be advantages. And were there more that I didn't see? I started reading books about how the places we live influence the connections we can make. People who love living in cities where an apartment is the only option love it for a lot of really good reasons. That was baffling to me at first because I've grown up along country roads and in suburban neighborhoods. I've always seen that as the only real way to raise a family and thought apartment dwelling was a sign of destitution or just transitory living. But it turns out that denser housing allows for our lives to weave in and out of others' lives in the course of an ordinary day. When you leave your apartment, another neighbor is leaving at the same time, and you comment on the changes management has made to the landscaping. You drop your kids off at school, and one of the other kids walking in looks familiar. You, you think he lives in your complex. After work, you take your kids to the small playground in the apartment complex to get some of their energy out and chat with your mom friends there. One of them made too much chicken the night before and offers you the leftovers. Another is stressed about a project that needs finished, and you offer to watch your kids so she can do it. After a few minutes, you walk to your apartment with your kids and start reheating the chicken for dinner. All of these interactions have occurred in the course of an ordinary day without you going out of your way. And those interactions build into real friendships. Contrast this with living in a single family house. When you leave for the day, you go to your garage to get in your car and drive your kids to school. Another neighbor is doing the same thing at the same time, but you never see her. When you drop your kids off, there might be other kids from your neighborhood there, but you wouldn't know because they live a street over. After work, you send your kids to the backyard while you try to get some chicken thawed for dinner. They come in complaining that they're bored and they have no one to play with. No relationships have been built. Congratulations! You have been fortunate enough to live your life in complete isolation. As much as we think having something that can be ours and ours alone will make us happy, it's not things, but people who can make us happy. It's people who can commiserate, give a helping hand, and fill chasms of lonely time with warmth. Yet, in all likelihood, your complex feels like a bunch of strangers living in the same place with whom you do your best to avoid encountering. Maybe you don't feel safe. Maybe they're just very different. It doesn't have to be that way. There is a way to create a bubble of safety for your kids when you're living in an apartment that doesn't exclude you or your children from the amazing community that you can build for yourself. But you can't get that far if you're stuck on the feeling that you should be living in your own house. I want to acknowledge there is a real grief over the beautiful life we have imagined, living in a house with a backyard that's only ours. That dream feels like it's impossible. We feel like somehow our children are having to grow up in really less than ideal circumstances and wish that we had something better, but feeling powerless to give that to our children and thinking, how long is it going to be? How long are we going to have to wait in order to buy a house? Are our children going to be all grown up by then? At that point, it'll be too late. I have felt all of these things, believe me. But is there a way we can imagine a life lived fully right where we are and see that it too can be beautiful for our families? If we stop pinning our dreams on something that's kind of out of reach and we start living where we actually are and making the most of it, can we actually start to thrive? Stay tuned and know that more is possible for you.